So my goal was to hit 3 states on this latest trip. I wanted to go to Maine, New Hampshire, and Vermont. What my original thought was to go to Burlington because I wanted to see Lake Champlain and spend a day or so there. But to open jaw it was very expensive. Just flying into Burlington was like super expensive. I don't think the planes are very big and they have very limited flights in and out of that place. So if you are going to go anywhere in Vermont, I would say, come in from the south in the bigger cities, get yourself a rental car, and then decide on what loop you're going to take and then just go from there. But my original thought was to go to Burlington, take this to Montpelier, and then take this to go to St. Johnsbury. I did actually make it there. Again, they have a maple farm. I actually got there kind of late in the day, but I did get to this artisan guild. They have some really nice Vermont made products, art projects that people make, from pottery to jewelry to wool, you name it, you could probably find it. Really nice gifts and things. So definitely worth a stop in, I would call it the historic downtown area. And then to the east of that is this maple farm tour place of the syrup factory. You're going to find a lot of maple syrup types of advertisements, even in New Hampshire, for Vermont especially. So, pick a town and then just run with it. Get yourself a map again, because it is going to be really difficult, because there will be trees growing in front of signage. You won't know what the speed limit is, the road sign, etc., etc. So expect that, especially as you're driving these non-freeway routes. And even the freeway routes, it's crazy, but that's how these northeast towns really are. Then what I was going to do is take the 2 and then get to New Hampshire. Now in New Hampshire, this is my hiking map, but you can see how much hiking there is. And this is like the northern part of New Hampshire. And this is just the White Mountains piece. I mean, it goes all the way up to Canada here, but this is Highway 2. I stayed in a little B&B kind of place east of Bethlehem. And I mean, it was okay. Support your mom and pop hotels, because that's kind of what you'll find along the way here. Unless you're in a bigger, quote, town, most of these are going to be 600,000 people, and they're not going to have chain hotels. So if you think you're going to stay in a chain hotel, likely you've got another thing coming if you really want to stay in where all the action is, because you're going to need to be in little campgrounds, little B&B hotels, mom and pops. That's just the way it is around here. The only place that you might find something would be Gotham. I stopped there. There was a Walmart. So like if your tent stakes broke, that kind of thing, you could probably get some supplies there. But again, not a super big town, but like these little towns, don't depend on it having a gas station or a lot of amenities. Like, it is really sparse. Sometimes next to nothing. It's just an old village that maybe has 100 people in it. So you think you're coming up on a town and you really aren't. But this is really a scenic view, and you can make some good time along Highway 2. Then it'll pop you out into Maine. Now Maine, it has a lot of twists and turns, and I thought, oh my, I'm not going to make a lot of time. but I started my day out at about 6:30 east of Bethlehem there, kind of by the Twin Mountains. And I made it to Bal Harbour in probably 6 hours, and I stopped a lot. I took stretch breaks. I took a few pictures along the way, but most of the time I was driving, pretty steady and pretty hard. Again, small towns, there's not a lot to see or do in these places. Newport is probably your next biggest town that you would find something in. And then you get to Bangor. Now here's where I would start putting my phone on to try to get a signal, because this town is confusing. There's rivers converging. Again, you can see all these different highways that are just angling in. And if you don't get in the right lane, if you don't know where you're going, you're going to get off track. And of course, that's what I did, because I'm thinking I'm on 2, that I will see signage that will take me to 1A. I mean, Bar Harbor, Ellsworth, that should be a really popular drive. I should be able to find a road sign that tells me that. Oh no, it goes to like 15:9. It was not user friendly in this downtown. And of course there was construction, so that may have aided and embedded my being lost in there. But yeah, I was out over here at 9 and I was starting to go there, and I'm like, doesn't smell right, something doesn't feel right. I'm still on 2, but where's 1A? Where's 1A? So I had to do some backtracking up in here. But I did get onto 1A. It starts getting really busy, of course, because you're going to Ellsworth, and then you switch to 3 and you go to Bar Harbor. Now, Bar Harbor is very expensive compared to some of these little towns that offer facilities. My advice is to stay out of there as much as possible, just because you're going to pay double to triple what you could in Ellsworth or some of these other little towns and fingerling places. So just buyer beware about that. I really liked taking, you have to go up to Ellis and you have to go to the downtown area, the historic area, and then you get yourself out on 1 there and take 1, which is the scenic highway, all the way down to Portland. Now you can take this 90 and skip a lot of this if it's really congested and you're just trying to make time and see some stuff. But if you do, then you're going to miss Camden and Rockport. I thought, I'm good. I'll see this stuff all the way along. Well, another thing that's really crazy is the airport in Bal Harbour. It's mainly a 15 passenger plane. It is not a huge airport. If you think you're going to get a taxi and Uber, forget it. It's not happening. And even Bangor is like that. So to really fly in, you're really best off, to be honest with you, out of Portland. My girlfriend, she was going to meet me. She went to Bal Harbour Airport and had a heck of a time getting to her hotel. I did the Portland loop and it came in and rescued her. And then we stayed in Ellsworth because, again, it was way cheaper and it didn't take that much. I mean, there was some driving back and forth, but you're going to do that in the Arcadia system anyway. You might as well find a place that you're happy with and can reasonably afford. And Ellsworth was what I came up with. But you have to go to Ellsworth anyway to catch this highway number 1. But the day I left, it was super foggy. So all these tranquil views that I thought I was going to see along the way, yeah, that did not happen until I got to this Rockland, Camden, Rockport area. So I did not take 90, but that is a really nice cutoff to save you time to get away from the crazy tourists. That's where probably the locals do. But if your scenic drive is less than desirable, then spend some time here. There's a lot of really cool little things that you can visit. I went out to the lighthouse. There was a historic mansion I popped in and got some information about. I mean, there's just different museums and things. It's worth, I think, stopping in that area. But if you have to make time to get back to Portland, to get to the airport, those kinds of things, spend a couple hours and then keep moving. It's just a nice stretch your leg kind of a thing. And then get along Highway 1. Now, I can tell you the traffic was much crazier on the lane from Portland to Bar Harbor than it was from Bar Harbor to Portland. So I totally made the right decision and went against the flow. So I drove all the way down to 1. Now, if you have a rental car, they highly suggest that you stay off the tollway of 95 because it's going to be extra costs and extra fees for you. So I didn't mind taking this one. I saw a historic mansion, and I saw where the famous lighthouse is over on Elizabeth. I didn't get down this part. I mainly stayed in Portland because I had to get my rental car back by 5. And again, crazy roads. Busy, it's only a town of about 65,000, so it's not like a huge city, but again, older style roads that kind of go in and around, rivers, ports, tracks, old-timey roads, and so things don't always make sense, so it's just going to take you longer, and of course there's road construction season. So just know that going in and make sure that you have your phone on. There's a rest area over here by Yarmouth, and I started putting my phone on because I finally had GPS connection then, and I really used it religiously in this Portland area so I would not get lost, because here's where the lighthouse is at Cape Elizabeth, because it's really easy to think you're going the right way and you're not. So having left Bar Harbor at 6 a.m. with, stoppages along the way and doing some sightseeing, I was able to get my rental car back in by 5. But definitely, I told them 6, and I'm glad I did because it gave me a little padding, because the traffic coming in and out of there can be really crazy. But I would take it in reverse. So many people leave Portland and they're going to Bar Harbor, they're going to take this scenic one, and it's just congested that way. Do it opposite. Make yourself a loop in Maine and enjoy it, and then come out the other side. So I went from Portland to Conway, hit the Kankamunkus Highway, went up north, caught myself a little Vermont so I could say that I was in Vermont, and then took Highway 2 all the way across through Maine and then down. So that was my loop, and I started on a Saturday morning, and I got back to Portland on Tuesday, and I felt like I saw enough of New Hampshire, Vermont, and Maine to satisfy myself. Would I be itching to absolutely go back? No, I think I got everything pretty much covered that I wanted to see. The only thing that I did not see that I regret not seeing is, this Burlington area. So, maybe someday when I get up into the Canadian, maybe we can drop down. Not sure. Not sure how I would ever see that, but that would be a really cool lake experience to see. But it's just not a conducive place to fly in. It's just very expensive, and it's difficult because there really isn't anything population-wise even in Vermont that's big. If you're looking, you think Burlington would have, the big place for the airport, but Vermont's very rural, and so you're not going to have a lot. Portland or over here somewhere, if you could find a town, that might work, but I enjoyed my time. I can put my 3 stickers down. I have traveled the highlights of those 3 states, and I feel I did a pretty good job.